Hey everyone, Todd here, internalarchitect.com. In this video I'm going to talk about mental clutter. And we're going to talk about 6 ways that you can finish tasks to solve anxiety. Now, before I begin, please hit subscribe below and hit the bell for notifications so you know when I put out a new video. Now, I've been paying attention to mental clutter for the last number of years, really after my first time going through the cancer experience, mostly because I wanted to try to answer those questions that we end up asking ourselves. A lot of them are why? Why did I go through this to begin with? And when you start asking those questions, you start kind of getting into the thick of trying to figure yourself out. And that was part of it was me trying to understand a lot of what was going on. And in my past, I had a lot of mental clutter, a lot of damage that I inflicted on myself because of being, I guess, kind of young and not really allowing myself to learn about things that were going on, and that created a lot of mental clutter for me. But when I started to break it down, there was a lot more things happening that were really, really interesting. And as I learned about what mental clutter was all about, I also learned a lot about how tasks and letting tasks that you don't finish can create anxiety, and over time all this stuff will build up. And it was really kind of a fascinating thing for me because I'm a pretty task-oriented person, and I learned shortly after finally getting into remission, that I am not a very good multitasker. And I ended up going through an exercise, within the first year or so about multitasking. And I'll hit this on a future video, but what I ended up learning about this was I was able to finish tasks quicker than I was if I tried to multitask a different group of tasks. And so what I have learned over the time is that each time these things happen, or each time I take on a task, I try to just focus on one element of it, finish that, and then move on to the next one and finish that, and so on and so on and so on. It's been an easier way for me to get this sorted out. But in that mix, there's been a number of interesting elements that have come into light, and a lot of it has become digital, and I wanted to kind of touch base on a lot of digital stuff. And our phones specifically, right? Our phones are probably one of the easiest distractions that we have. And a lot of it comes down to just, each time our phone notifies us about some sort of thing that's going on, whether that is through social media or email or text messages or different type of services that you might be on. And what it does is each time one of these notifications happens, it creates this psychic anxiety that really starts over time, will start to just drive you nuts, because a lot of times these notifications and these things that come from our devices, like I said, they create this psychic anxiety, and until you're able to complete the full circle, it just will continue to build up and continue to build up. Now, I think some of you are pretty aware of kind of the Pavlovian response and getting kind of the reward for looking at the text and looking at the notification, because over time this has really trained us into not finishing tasks that we have started. And over time, all these tasks that we we don't necessarily realize, because it's a subconscious type of thing that continues to go on, and they continue to build and build and build and build and build, and it just creates this anxiety. And then that Pavlovian response teaches us that, that reward of answering the response and not finishing through with what it might be going on. There's obviously a lot of, because we get notifications, we are reminded about what is going on and why it's going on, right? And it can very well help us finish certain tasks and certain things, but a lot of time those notifications don't do that, and it totally does build up over time. And so with that, I wanted to talk about the 6 things that you can do to kind of help start easing that anxiety and easing that response, and solving some of this anxiety that comes on from our digital world, because it really, I've taken a lot of these steps, and it has made such an improvement in just my overall anxiety and awareness, and keeps pushing me closer to really enjoying life and having a lot more peace in it, and not really worrying about a lot of the little details that would be popping up because of my phone completely blowing up. And the first one that I want to talk about is just turning off your phone notifications. And this is always a tough one. I get it, but by doing this, and once you get a little bit used to your phone not going off all the time, you start dedicating your time to doing other things that can be a lot more helpful and can be a lot more rewarding in the long run. So that is a huge thing to really try to do. Like I said, it's not easy, and it's definitely a difficult thing to do, because you are consciously making this decision to stop the things that are like continuously taking your attention and taking your time. And so turning off your notifications on your phone is a huge one. The second one is text messaging. Now this is even harder than turning off your phone notifications, because there's a lot of discussions that we have with friends, with family, that really can use our attention more often than not. A good example for me is texting with my wife. I text with my wife all the time, and I'm learning to, and I've had this conversation with her of letting her know that I may not be answering you back immediately, okay? So please be aware that if I don't get back to you, it means that I may not have my phone with me and I'm in the middle of doing something. So please be patient. I will get back to you, and we'll go from there. And that has really been having this communication too, especially with the people that you text with, they'll get it. And, if they don't, then that is, that right there is a flag to really think about how you can adjust your time. So text messaging is obviously a really, really, really huge one. The third one that I want to talk about is internet distractions. And there's 3 things that I really think are really important that you can do to help deal with those. And the first one is to close your email software and turn your push notifications off. Again, a lot of this comes down to just digital notifications happening all the time, and that's been huge. And I actually have done that with all my phones. I have actually all my phones. I have 2 phones. I have a work phone and I have my personal phone. And there was I am involved in a number of strings with my work, where, dude, I tell you, sometimes I will consistently get all these notifications, and you get 10, 15 notifications in like a 2-minute period, and it's just like, how am I, you have to take a moment to really realize, when is it not beneficial and when is it really starting to affect the work that you're trying to do. And that was it. So when I turned those notifications off, it made work a lot easier. It made my focus a lot more direct and a lot more. I honestly really feel it's a lot more laser sighted. So it's been a really good sense in that. And so that is the first one. The second one is closing browser tabs that you don't use. Now, this is kind of a two-edged sword for me because doing these videos and stuff, I use a lot of different internet software pieces. So I do have a lot of browser tabs open, but I really take the time to make sure that the tabs that I have open are the tabs that I'm using. And I will automatically close stuff up when I'm not using it because it really can distract you. I mean, next thing you know, you might be looking at the top of your screen, looking at all the different tabs, and you're like, holy snap, I've used up so many of these. I have all these things, and you're clicking through them, and just it can be really distracting, and it can suck up a lot of time. But also, by doing that, you are not focusing on finishing the tasks that you have started on your computer. So that is a really big one. And I admit, I do have a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to say it's necessarily multitasking, but they're just things that I need in order to digitally do the things that I need to do to finish, whether it's a blog post or whether it's a video or whatever it is. So that's something that's really important. Just keep, close out all the tabs that you're not using. Now, the third one, and it's not so crazy, but it really made a big difference for me to help kind of get me over some of the humps of the digital distractions, is removing apps from my phone. The big one was I removed Facebook from my phone. I do not have Facebook as an app on my phone because it was just too easy to just push that button, and then next thing you know, I'm just wasting time going through the feed and just seeing what other people were doing. And it was actually doing a lot more than just driving me nuts. It was making me jealous and frustrated, and a lot of different it was making me go through a lot of different emotions that I didn't need to have. And by taking some of these off, it really helped with refocusing my time and making sure that I was starting to close those loops that are caused by just all the anxiety. And by doing this, I was slowly closing out that different bit of mental clutter that was going on. What else? The fourth thing is write down a list of unfinished personal business. Now, this is really kind of simple, but this is like your bills, your phone calls, emails, whatever it is, things that are important that you have to get done in order to have day-to-day things happen on a timely basis. This is okay. I mean, it might be a pretty good list. It might be a pretty short list. It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, you have to have an idea of what all these different things that are unfinished. It might be always left open depending on what is going on in your life. So get a handle on these, because this unfinished business is another loop that isn't getting completely finished out, and you have to stay on top of it in order to be up to date and to deal with that mental clutter that goes on. So the fifth thing I want to talk about is I do this a couple times a year, and that's I mind map my shoulds, and your shoulds, or your never-ending list of things that must get done. This kind of goes back to the fourth thing also, because there's in order to find all the different things that go on, what your simple bills are, what that is, but there's projects, there's things that you want to get done, whether that is you have projects you've started at your home, or different projects you've started at work, or for your wife, that honey-do list that our spouses give us to get stuff done. That's all part of it, and those things need to get done also. So being able to do a mind map of all these things. And you take about 20 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes, go in a really quiet place, and just that's what you concentrate. You concentrate on all the things that need to be done in your life. And it takes, once you have that list, or once you have that map, you can actually take it and put it into a list, and then you can actually go through and really make it start. You can start, chiseling off all those different things. And as you kind of start to finish those up, obviously new projects, new things will come into play, but you're starting to deal with all the different projects that you have started that you have never finished. Whether that is like building a shed in your backyard, or maybe an addition on a house, or I mean, there's hundreds and thousands and millions of different examples you could use, but as I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I think these are really important things that you need to do to really make yourself close those loops to solve the anxiety. Because once you start closing these things, you become more productive in your little world of yourself and your family and everything, and it really feels good to get these things done. And then I think the last thing, the number 6 thing, I think is really, really important, and this has to do with the digital world also, is stop criticizing and spreading hate. And I mean this in the sense that it's really easy to, especially in this time of COVID-19, to take the effort that we have, or take this free time and effortlessly turn it into anger on social media platforms. We have all this time. What do we do with it? Well, we're just getting, I don't agree with this person, so I'm going to belittle him and bully him, or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, there's this little bit of like hate that is generated to you, and that energy that you are feeling, that frustration that you're feeling because someone may be disagreeing with you or whatever, is only hurting yourself and hurting your reputation. So stop it. Stop doing that. Focus your time, focus that energy on doing something good. And that way you're not even creating any more anxiety, and you're not creating this hate that you have started to spread because you've nipped it in the butt. So do something good with that time instead of spending it possibly being a bully and whatever. If that's going on in your life, and then I actually really feel bad for you, because obviously something is really going on, and something is going wrong with what is happening in your life, and that's just not good either. So yeah, so that's kind of one of the last one, the 6th one that I wanted to talk about, because I think it's really important, and I think it's really something that you should, take these 6 things and really start applying them to different aspects of your life. Like I said, this is one of many, many, many different aspects that can cause anxiety, but I found that this is a pretty big one, at least for me, and I've been really working on this to make it better and to do better for myself and close those loops with all the clutter and all the outstanding tasks that I have yet to finish. So yeah, so that's been my weird little mission, and that's how I'm doing it. And over the course of the last 44 years of my life, I've been slowly, I ended up gaining so many different aspects, learning a lot about different stuff, and I didn't and through whether it was snowboarding or excavation, I ended up accumulating a fair amount of stuff. And it wasn't until the last few years or so where I really started kind of getting rid of stuff and just being like just straight up clean slate type of thing. I just wanted to be done with a lot of stuff that I had collected over my history, and I'm doing a pretty good job of it. I went from, when my father got sick and ended up losing our house, we ended up taking that entire estate and putting it in a 1,200 square foot storage unit, and I went through. It took me years to go through all that, and finally I got it down, and finally I was able to give that that storage unit back, and now I have it in a much smaller area, and our house is much smaller, so everything needs to have its place so that we're not getting overly cluttered with extra stuff there, and because that physical clutter stuff adds to that mental clutter also. So it's a constant, continuous thing that I'm always working on, and I will probably always be working on for the rest of my life. But you know what? Things are in a good spot right now, and I'm happy to at least share that, you know, this is one of the things I've really been working on, and it has made a huge difference. So awesome. Thank you for watching, you guys. I appreciate your time and energy in watching the videos. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me in the comment section below, and I'll definitely share. And if you have a story to share too, please hit it down there, and I would love to discuss it with you in the chat. So awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.